About healing the thyroid. Now, this is a huge problem. In fact, most of the researchers who are involved with the thyroid, they are saying that it's at least 50% of the population. And the 50% that they're talking about, that's an average across the United States. So, we happen to be privileged to live in the goiter belt. And some of you know what that is, some of you don't know what that is. It's a string around the Great Lakes that is completely deficient in iodine, soil depletion. And the thyroid runs off of iodine. Iodine is completely wiped out. They discovered the goiter belt back in the 1940s. We happen to live in the goiter belt, and then we happen to also live in an age where infant mortality in the state of Ohio is at an all-time high. Did you guys see that? Read that in the newspaper? That the mortality rates keep going up for kids, for little babies, like from 0 to 1. Scary stuff. And they said we need to do immediate action and we need to think outside of the box. So what I did was I wanted to kind of tie that in because it makes sense from understanding the thyroid and understanding why there's such an epidemic with the thyroid. The number one thing that we see is when they take cord blood from newborn babies, there's over 200 petrochemicals found in cord blood. And that's derived from herbicides, pesticides, industry. So you have all of these different toxins that are outgassed into our environment, and before the baby even comes out and breathes our air, there's over 200 of these chemicals already found in its blood supply. So, how does that tie into the thyroid? The thyroid gland is a magnet for 3 major toxins, and these toxins, unfortunately, 2 out of the 3 are found in our drinking water. So we have chlorine, is a major thyroid toxin, and then we have fluoride, which they're putting in the drinking water as well. Major thyroid toxin. Now the third one is called bromine. Now bromine, they used to not put in baked goods. They used to iodinize flour, put iodide instead of bromide. Now they said, well, let's put the cheaper alternative in. Let's put bromine in. Let's brominate the flour. So all your baked goods, your breads, your pastas, your anything baked, sweets, cupcakes, whatever you like, all are made from brominated flour. And bromine is an extreme toxin to the thyroid. So those 3 toxins, if you think about it, 90% of the people, by the time they even get out the door in the morning, have completely shut down their thyroid. They shower and breathe in chlorinated water. When you heat that water that you bathe in, you breathe in the chlorinated outgassing. You make your coffee with chlorinated and fluoridated water. And on top of that, we're putting fluoridated toothpaste. Maybe not everybody, but we're brushing our teeth with fluoride toothpaste, which is highly toxic to the thyroid. And on top of that, if we eat some toast or anything that is from flour, toast, we end up shooting down swimming pools. Huge. There was actually an Olympic athlete that had to stop training because he was getting so sick from the absorption of the chlorine. So the thyroid is also very sensitive to bromine, and bromine is also in flame retardants. So anything in your house, like the new electronics, new carpeting, new flooring, all of that good stuff, brominated, and it's outgassing into your environment that you're breathing in. So you are blocking your function of your thyroid. Now I said 50% of people have thyroid, and I've been in practice long enough to know where we live it's about 80%. And most of those are subclinical. Now that means that you can go get blood work and your thyroid numbers will be okay. But if I went through and did these home tests that I'm going to show you and ask you questions, you would pretty much ding off every symptom related to hypothyroid. I had, this is funny, I don't have a lot of symptoms, but I had started replenishing and feeding my thyroid, and to my horror, I grew my eyebrows thicker. One of the things you'll see with the thyroid not working right is you're actually, the outside half of your eyebrow will thin out. And a lot of people, women, their hair gets thinner, they get more hair loss. But you'll see the outside 1/3 of the eyebrow actually thin out. I started replenishing with nutrition all of the different things for the thyroid. Not only do I have a lot more energy, but my eyebrows grew in thicker. I don't even know what to do. I'm half Greek and half Italian. I thought I was already good to go with eyebrows, but that's a sign that we ask. You know, we actually look at that, and I asked a lot of women, "Are you plucking that? Is that how thin it is?" No, it's just thin by itself. I said, well, that's not okay. I'll grab their hands. Their hands will be cold. Well, that's not okay either. And we go through all of these symptoms, which we're going to go through tonight, and you'll see that a lot of people have these issues. So what is the thyroid? It's part of an endocrine system. It sits right in the base of the throat. Very big gland, controls energy, body temperature, metabolism. We see a lot of people with weight issues have subclinical thyroid. They do everything they usually do that used to work for them, and it just doesn't work anymore. You know, I used to get up and just walk the dog 5 times a week and I would lose weight. Or I used to stop drinking Coca-Cola and I would drop 10 pounds. You guys know what I'm talking about? Yeah, I used to make these little changes and now that doesn't work. I'm still fat. This is a classic sign that the metabolism is off. So if the thyroid is slow, you're going to see hypothyroid issues. It also controls blood calcium, and in extreme cases we'll see it affect the heart rhythm. People end up getting all kinds of arrhythmias and different issues. Something that we look at on the blood work, it's kind of hard to see up there, but we have normal versus optimal. Now on the thyroid, medical people are looking for disease states. So if you are in the range of the lab, they think you're good to go. What a lot of people who have discovered how the thyroid functions, they go into what's called functional medicine, and in functional medicine, these medical people have established a tighter range that shows you subclinical thyroid will start to show a slowing of the thyroid. You can see on the blood if you know what to look for. So in a lot of our patients, you'll see that the range that I recommend is a little different than what the lab says. It's because we're not looking at disease, we're looking at optimal function. Those are two different things. Disease state versus optimal function, you functioning at your best. So that's something that we see a lot of times, like I said, in the subclinical case, symptoms are the best indicators. These home tests that we're going to do and these tests that we can run in our clinic are very accurate. We've used it for a lot of years and we've gotten really great results. There are very inexpensive lab work. A lot of people don't want to pay the copay to their medical doctor. We have a basic TSH, which is a pituitary thyroid regulator, for about $12 with the co-op that we use. And you don't have to fast, so a lot of people are bummed out when you say you can't eat for 12 hours. This one you can go in right after you eat and go get the test done. It's a very inexpensive way to assess the pituitary gland to see what the thyroid's doing. So a lot of times if it's a complex thyroid case, there are other tests that, again, traditional medical doctors are not going to be running. A lot of this, the OBGYN for females will actually refer out to an endocrinologist because they know better panels to run. But some of those panels include the autoimmune component of the thyroid gland. Another huge topic is autoimmune disease. We see a ton of autoimmune disease. It's an epidemic, just like thyroid is an epidemic. You can have 2 types of thyroid autoimmune diseases. One is called Hashimoto's. Now that is a specific blood test. It shows if your immune system is attacking the thyroid and it slows your thyroid down. Very sluggish thyroid. Sometimes your regular thyroid hormones will come back normal, but your antibodies will be through the roof. That means there's a full-on attack going after your thyroid. The other thing that we look at is Graves' disease, which is a lot more rare, and Graves is an autoimmune hyperthyroid. Now these people will be losing a ton of weight. They look like a walking skeleton with their eyeballs popping out, and their heart is all over the place. It's another very interesting autoimmune attack of the thyroid. It's very different in the treatment, which we're going to go over here, how we address that. And then of course there's iodine saturation, which is a urine test. That means you megadose on a blend of Lugol solution. Now Lugol was a doctor who understood a lot about how the thyroid works, but it's a blend of iodine and iodide. If you guys have been in my office and we've painted this on you, it's like a dark brown color that we actually stain your skin with. And if you have issues with deficiency, your body will suck that up really quickly. Should last about 18 hours on your skin before it fades away. Most of the time, 4 hours. I mean, I've seen severe cases, 2 hours, 6 hours. I mean, most people, we're in the goiter belt, so if you're completely depleted, actually we'll have people, their throats will swell up and they'll actually get a goiter. Thyroid gland swells so big that they can't even swallow. It's very scary when someone comes in with a goiter. We usually put them on iodine right away and the goiter resolves very quickly. It's just we do not have it in our soil and we're pushing it out with all the toxins that we're ingesting. So again, you don't want to do a urine test where we saturate you and then you see how much iodine comes out in your pee. We can always just paint a 3x3 patch on you and you can check it that way. So I talked about the bromine, the fluoride, and the chlorine killing thyroid function. Splenda is chlorinated. So you guys think about like, well, I'm just going to diet soda, it'll be doing me good, or I'll just use Splenda instead of sugar. Well, they chlorinate Splenda. It's a chlorinated product. Very toxic to the thyroid. The other thing that we see is things that are non-stick pans. Teflon is fluoridated. So they fluoridate the coating on these pans, and when we heat it, it outgasses into our food. So these are things that, when we talk about the overall picture, there's two modes of attack. Number one, we have to get the toxins, push them out of your body. There is a detoxification component, and then there's a common sense, which is don't put it back. Don't poison yourself again. Now that we did this work to detoxify you, don't poison yourself. The medical doctor who did most of this research, he would actually start megadosing people on these blends, this Lugol solution, and he would actually see bromine, which is a really nasty toxin, come out under the people's fingernails. They would literally detox bromine out from under their fingernails, in their saliva, and in their urine. Bromine would be dumped out because the good iodine pulls that crud out so you can excrete it. Now, would you go back to eating brominated flour? I always explain to people, once we get this out of you and we get your thyroid working, don't go back and poison your thyroid. The shower head, we got a little shower head at our office that takes all the chlorine out. You just screw it in the pipe in your shower head, it goes between those two, and it pulls it, it binds to all the chlorine. So before you bathe in that and breathe in all that chlorine, you block all that. So it's really simplistic. I mean, if you have well water, you're probably in pretty good shape, but if you have city water and you're getting inundated with chlorine, or like Dennis said, if you're doing laps in the pool that's chlorinated, if you have home pools, it does not take a lot to convert them to salt water. The saltwater conversion for your home swimming pools is not hard to do. It's not expensive to do. You don't need any extra fancy filtration. So a lot of my patients who have pools, they will go and switch over to saltwater pools. It's just a lot more therapeutic for you. So let's go over the real list of hypothyroid. And usually it's some combination of objective tests that we're doing in the office coupled with all these symptoms. That's how we nail these thyroid cases. Hair loss, weight gain, low energy. We talked about the eyebrow getting thinned out on the outside. And women also get changes in their hair quality. They really feel their hair becomes coarse and kind of brittle. It just doesn't have the same volume and feel that the hair usually has. Their skin gets dry, their nails become weakened and brittle. Again, worst case, you'll see a goiter form, just swelling at the base of the neck. On this side, we have impaired hearing and ringing in the ears. interesting thyroid symptom, constipation, mental sluggishness, decreased initiative, just don't feel like doing anything. You have to really push yourself when you have any issues. The other thing that slows down is your pulse rate. Your pulse rate will actually drop under 65 if you have hypothyroid. Whereas if it's hyper, you'll actually see your pulse speeding up and you'll have heart palpitations. So think hypo, everything's sluggish, everything's slowing down, metabolism slowing down, bowels slowing down, everything's sluggish. That's the hypothyroid. Now the hyperthyroid, again, these guys really look drawn in. They don't look really healthy. You know something's not quite right with them. The eyeballs are bugging out. The heart would be pounding, and a lot of times the heart rate would just be through the roof. And that's just with them at rest. I mean, the heart would be pounding away. There's no marathon going on, but their heart would be pounding away. This is a simple screening. That's what the patch looks like when we paint it on you. We use a little roller, and basically all you have to do is know when we applied the patch, and then every few hours just kind of take a peek at it. If you see it getting sucked up really quick, you don't have to do the expensive urine test. I mean, if you're not quite sure and you want to really know what's going on, the urine test, I think it's about $80 from that company that we use for the hair analysis. It's something worth checking. A lot of this research, the guy who developed a lot of these tests, there are two doctors out of Michigan, and the first guy's name is Dr. Brownstein, and his buddy is Dr. Abrams. And you can go to Optimox, that's OPTIMOX, Optimox.com, and right in the corner, all their peer-reviewed medical research, all the articles are right there. And you can see those people who are detoxing bromine and all that. Very interesting research. The other thing that happens with replenishing these essential nutrients is that in women it balances their estrogen. There's 3 estrogens in women. Number 1, you have estriol, which is actually a very healthy estrogen, and then you have estrone and estradiol. Those are toxic estrogens. So what we see is when we're depleted in these nutrients, we'll actually see the good estrogen, estriol, become suppressed, and all the toxic estrogens will go through the roof, which radically increases your risk factors for breast cancer and cervical cancer. That's one of the reasons why when women get on birth control, they have an elevated risk not only of heart attacks and strokes and clots, but an elevated risk for these cancers. A huge, many-fold increase, and it's because it's a synthetic estrogen, and it's not good for the body. If we can find alternatives to that, like balancing out people nutritionally, you can avoid a lot of these risk factors. The other test that we shot out in our email was called the Barnes, and it's from Rhoda Barnes, who's a medical doctor. She was a pioneer in thyroid research, and she said that the only thing that matters is your underarm temperatures, and she didn't care about the blood. She wanted to see how it was working on the cellular level. The thyroid is turned on, you'll be nice and warm in the morning. She had you put a little thermometer under the armpit first thing in the morning. If you are under 97.8, she considered you flat out hypothyroid. 97.8 to 98.2, that's the range she got all of her patients in. So if you have an old-fashioned thermometer, you shake it down the night before, keep it upright on your nightstand, and first thing in the morning, before getting up to go pee, you grab that and you sit there for about 5 minutes and you chart down your number. See what it is, and you do that for 5 days in a row, and you take the average. If you're averaging below 97.8, you've got a problem. Very simple test, very accurate test. Talk to you about the iodine patch. Again, there are professionals out there that say, experts in this that say you should actually hold it for a whole day, that patch, but we settle for, I mean, anything over 12 hours we celebrate, but the likelihood of you living in the Gorder Belt and holding your iodine for 12 hours is just not something that we see a lot of. How many have you seen, Don? Anybody?
Not many. I know mine didn't.
Well, I know you've seen
mine disappeared like, very quickly.
You know where we're going next week.
Right.
All right. So fixing the sluggish thyroid. We talked about optimal ranges. I have doctors, medical doctors, that will let the thyroid go up over 6 and not say a word. On most labs here, where we live, 4.5 is the high end. So if you're up around 4, 4.5, 5, you have a really slow thyroid. The functional medicine people say between 1 and 2 is the optimal range where your thyroid is at peak performance. It's very different than 4 or 4.5. I have patients that when they get up into the 2s, over 2, they start feeling horrible. So I explain that, you know, everybody's a little different, but we really want to get you into a more optimal range, not just out of the disease process. We want to get you into optimal function. So that's something that we do a lot of, checking lab values for optimal value, eliminating the fluoride toothpaste. There's a ton of medication that is fluoride based. Paxil is 94% fluoride. So think about that. You got a medicine for, you know, an antidepressant, an SSRI is what we call that. 94% of that thing you're putting in your mouth is pure fluoride, usually from China. Toxic stuff, and people wonder why, you know, they can't get better. So there are non-fluoride treatments available for serotonin upregulation. We obviously have natural approaches, but if you need a medication, they can actually switch you to one that's non-fluoride based. Okay? So that's something to think about. Filtering out your drinking water, that sounds like common sense, but you need to find a filter that takes fluoride and chlorine out. And there, I mean, it's not that difficult. Most basic reverse osmosis units will do it. I have a unit that's about a 7-step filtration because it takes out viruses and other people's drugs that they're peeing into the water supply. So if you think about the water supply, the city water, when you flush your toilet, or your neighbor who's on 20 different prescription drugs flushes his toilet, it goes through a filtration plant and a water treatment plant, and they kill off pretty much all the E. coli, all the stuff that can make us sick. But you can't filter out the metabolites of Paxil, let's say, or the metabolites of his oxy, you know, his oxycodone that he's taking. It only filters it out to a certain degree, and where they're finding drug metabolites coming back into the public drinking water. So I do a 7-step filtration that's a nano filtration. It actually takes out drug metabolites. You don't have to do that, but boy, getting chlorine and fluoride out of your water, getting a little shower head that filters out chlorine, that's a real good idea. Getting away from nonstick cookware and fluoridated toothpaste, very good idea. If you want the thyroid to start working, find some alternatives to regular baked goods. Find flours that they're not fluoridated or not brominated. Non-brominated flour. And of course with baking, a lot of you use baking soda. Make sure you're not getting aluminum baking soda. 80% of the baking sodas have aluminum in there, which is linked to Alzheimer's. You don't want aluminum in your brain or in your body or anywhere. You'll see no aluminum baking soda. I mean, it's right next to the aluminum filled one. You just have to look. But you can get this stuff under control fairly quickly if you understand where the sources are coming from. Consider indoor air filtration, especially when you keep your windows sealed up when wintertime comes. What are you breathing in the winter? A lot of recirculated air. So I tell people, you know, consider getting an in-house, you know, something to filter out some of the outgassing from your carpet, from the glues and from the stains. All these things block the thyroid and they block the liver. So get a good air filter too. So when we look at the whole, one of the things that we look at in our office is we don't just feed the gland that's weak, we feed the gland's control center. So if we look at what controls the thyroid, we go upstream, it's actually the pituitary. So a lot of the support we give will have pituitary support as well as the thyroid, because the pituitary tells the thyroid what to do. If we look further upstream, right there, about 1.5 inches above the pituitary, you have what's called the hypothalamus, and that tells the pituitary what to do. That's the master control center. So a lot of people are saying, well, why are you giving me this stuff that says hypothalamus support? Well, because that tells your pituitary what to do, which tells your thyroid what to do. It also tells your adrenals, tells your sex hormones what to do. It's very important to support the whole system and not just the part. Medically, they're very good at being mechanistic, which is just treating the part, not treating the whole. If you strengthen the whole, you get a lot better results. The other essential nutrients that we look at other than iodine is selenium. Selenium and zinc are huge for normal thyroid function. And again, most people we check are depleted in these, especially if they have thyroid issues. Very easy to replenish. We show you the right kind of selenium. There's certain seleniums that are toxic and there's certain ones that don't get absorbed. We customize it based off of what we do in our office regarding testing. You have very specific nutrients and there's specific orders, and everybody's a little different. We're all different on the outside and we're all different on the inside. So improving the way your body detoxifies, I tell people once we start clearing out the thyroid, we want to make sure your liver has the basic nutrients for detoxification. It's very simple. We give people what's called indole 3-carbinol, and all that is they juice Brussels sprouts and kale, and they dry it and they put it in a capsule because most people don't want to eat it. I tell them you got to eat all these things to support liver detoxification, and they say I'm not going to. The likelihood of me eating that every day is very low. So I say here's the capsule. If you're not going to eat these things that help liver detoxification, and it is a daily thing. I have people that they fool themselves. They do a detox once a year, and they say, I'm good for the whole year. No, the toxins don't go away. You need to do it every day, something to feed detoxification, at least every day. So in our drinks, we'll put cruciferous complete when we make a protein shake, or we use the SP complete, which has cruciferous and kale in it, which fuels detoxification. And if you really want to step it up, I catch Don going into my nitro greens, which is a hot, heavy duty. It has the cruciferous, but it has about 5 or 6 other things that fuel liver detoxification, where they juice these green juices and they dry it. It's a really gross tasting thing by itself. They try and put fresh organic spearmint in it to offset it, but it tastes bad. We put raw chocolate in our shakes, and it covers it up completely, so probably end up doing one of those, like you guys mentioned, how to make a shake customized for what time of year you want to support. So if we're doing detoxification, I'll show you the little additives you can put in to fuel detoxification. If you want to get leaner and lose weight, I'll show you how to bring the fructose down. But we'll go through a few different recipes on very simple. Once you understand the base recipe, you can kind of alter it. If you want to elevate your mood, like antidepressant, we'll show you how to use the raw chocolate. It's very powerful antidepressant, and we combine the cacao nibs with the powder, and you get a really potent dose in the brain. You can really handle people a lot better without wanting to hurt somebody. That's what I drink every day. That's why I'm always, that's Don. That's why I'm always so happy. Right?
That's why you put up with it.
All right. So there's a ton of non-fluoridated toothpaste that work well. The company we use is called Uncle Tom's of Maine. No, there's another one we use.
Oh, Uncle Harry's.
Uncle Harry. I like Uncle Harry better than Tom's of Maine. Tom's of Maine, they've kind of got bought out by a much larger company called Coca-Cola, and they now are putting parabens, which are cancer-causing, in a lot of their natural products. So they kind of get sold out. I've abandoned them and gone to Uncle Harry's. It's a little company out there in Washington, and they use everything organic. They even put their toothpaste in a little glass jar. And it is probably the best product for the mouth and teeth that I've come across. An old mentor of mine told me about it. He said that his family was having these issues with the gums and the teeth and demineralization. And he turned me on to it. And ever since we've been using it, we've been getting really good results. And it pulls toxins out. It normalizes the pH in the mouth. And it's, again, there's no plastics. There's nothing in there. We also use a lot of herbs. Depending on the intensity of the thyroid, if it's really shut down, herbs turn on the thyroid probably faster than food. So we'll sometimes add herbs to get the thyroid working. We have to be careful sometimes because we get the thyroid working too good. People go into hyperthyroid. They start losing it. The women love it because they lose weight so fast, but then when we test the blood, we say, well, we got to back off a little bit. And they're like, oh, no, don't. I'll stay hyperthyroid for another 20 pounds, then you can take me off of this. So we watch that, we monitor that. Again, very simple ways to do it. I've done the 21-day purification, and I've actually reversed thyroid issues just by doing that, just by pushing toxins out of the thyroid. That's an intense program. I don't recommend it unless you're really, really dedicated. I always start off with a much easier one. We have a little 7-day one that's kind of like a prep. If you can get through the 7-day and feel pretty good, then we can go to a 10-day. You can do a 10-day, then you're probably ready for a 21-day. But I don't jump right into that. But I can tell you some stories about the 21-day. Pretty amazing stuff. I had a woman lose 35 pounds in 21 days. Now, she ate horrible. She was addicted to every fast food and sweet drink that you can imagine. She was just addicted bad. She lost 35 pounds. My brother lost 21 pounds in 21 days on that purification program. Dropped his triglycerides 160 points in 21 days. Now, medically, they say you can't do that without statins. That outperforms any kind of statin. Really wild stuff. He stopped passing kidney stones after we did the purification too. He was passing 60 kidney stones over a 4-month period, and he completely cleared out his kidney stones. But all it does is improve liver function, cleans the blood, cleans the kidneys, and again, pulls the toxins out of the thyroid as well. So a lot of people, depending on, yes?
What's the difference between the 7-day versus the 21? Just length of time, or is it more advanced?
A lot easier. Yeah, the 7-day, the shake that you drink is already blended for you. You just have to put water in it, but you don't have to add anything. That's the first thing. The second thing is the amount of food restrictions is way more lenient on the 7-day. There's only a handful of foods that will stop detoxification that you have to stay away from. So you can actually eat a lot more. It's not so hard. And then the liver detoxers that you take, it's only 2 capsules in the morning, 2 capsules at night, so it's very low as far as the amount of actual supplements you're taking. So you're doing a shake and a couple of these little guys. The 10 days, a little more advanced. The amount of stuff you take is a little more, but you start having to make your own shakes because the powder that it comes with, it is just unheated whey protein with a lot of juice and dried greens in it. So it doesn't have really much of a flavor, but you do have to know what to kind of put in it to make it taste good. So it takes a little more work. And then at that, you're eliminating pretty much all grains. A lot of the grains I was telling you about block thyroid function, so you're taking all the grains out, you're replacing grains with vegetables. And you can cook them, and you can put Celtic sea salt and grass-fed butter on them. You can make them taste really good, but you're eating a lot more vegetables and you're taking a lot of the grains and the refined foods out. And then after the first, on the 10-day, you can eat grass-fed protein the whole time. On the 21-day, the first week, you are not eating any kind of protein other than what's in that shake. So it's a little hard. For me, it was very hard the first 7 days because I eat a lot of protein, good source protein, but man, once I get through the first week, I feel much better when I add a little bit of protein back in. But that's the main differences. So we always, for the hypothyroid, we always want to replenish. We want to use sea vegetables, basically. It's one of the sources we use for iodine. The herb we use is something called bladderwrack. The bladderwrack that we use also has something called ashwagandha. Now, ashwagandha is an adrenal repair herb. If the thyroid's tired, your adrenals are shot. If your adrenals are tired, the thyroid's shot. You cannot separate the two. They are on the same circuit. So I have a lot of people barking up the wrong tree. They're trying to get their thyroid better, but they're neglecting their adrenal glands. They're never going to get the thyroid better unless you feed the adrenals. And that's why we go up to the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland controls both. So if we understand that, we do a global endocrine support. and then we start replenishing the minerals. Once we get the glands working, we start feeding them with minerals. The minerals push the toxins out. Now the cool thing about that is if your body has a choice to absorb iodine, which is a good food, or absorb bromine, which is toxic, if you have plentiful iodine, plentiful zinc, and all these other, like selenium, your body will take those over the toxin. So it's like a shield to your body. So when you have adequate, good minerals running through your body on a regular basis, the likelihood of you picking the bromine coming up out of the carpet or up out of your walls that you just painted or your new flooring, you're not going to pick up the bromine. It's not going to stick. It's going to pass through because it's already saturated with iodine. So this is something very important to understand from a protection standpoint. Once we get that working right, we want to understand it's also a longevity, a protection, a shield for the thyroid. So on the hyperthyroid, the main thing is we don't do the bladder rack. You cannot do the bladder rack when you have a thyroid that's going ballistic. So other than that, the protomorphogen we use, which is the food for the thyroid gland, is the same. That protomorphogen is called thiotrophine, PMG. That will bring a hyperthyroid into normal range. It will take a hypo and bring it up and speed it up. So it'll slow down one that's too fast, it'll speed up one that's too slow. It's a regulator. The bladder rack we don't do. Instead we do organically bound minerals, which is a vegetable-based potassium. It's a protein-bound potassium. And that really helps calm things down. If you have the autoimmune component, which you can get tested for, we use something called bugleweed. Bugleweed is an herb that will completely shut down the autoimmune by converting the thyroid hormones over faster so it regulates itself. And motherwort we use if they're having severe palpitations. That's more to regulate the rhythm of the heart. So depending on what you have going on and what symptoms you present with, it's going to kind of determine the approach we're going to take. Still detox either way, we're going to get the thyroid toxins out regardless if you're hyper or hypo. You gotta take the poison out of the thyroid. And then of course, I always revert back to the basics. Don't forget the basic core support. We use a very specific adjustment. A lot of you are patients, you understand this, but those of you who are not patients, we have an instrument that scans the nervous system and it shows where the nerve flow is blocked down and it shows where the blood flow is blocked down. If you have blood flow and nerve flow that feed the thyroid closed down, you can do a lot of these nutritional approaches, but if you have this component on top of it, you have that nerve supply and blood flow, you got to open that up. You got to feed the gland. It's just like a tomato plant. If you don't water it, it doesn't do as well. We want water, sunshine, and rich soil to get really good crops. Same thing is true with the thyroid. You got to feed it, but you got to also restore blood flow and nerve flow. So that's what the adjustments do. We also have a technique where we release stored emotions. A lot of times stored emotions will cause the adrenals to get in that fight or flight state, and unless you release the emotions, you're not going to take the weight off the thyroid. So sometimes there's an emotional component. Other times we show people how to breathe, slow their breathing down, and count their blessings. And that reduces cortisol. The technique we use is an instrument that measures the heartbeat minute to minute, second to second. If you have all gas on that heart and no break, you'll push cortisol up and you'll shut the thyroid down. So a lot of people don't realize this. They can push cortisol up and shut the thyroid down just from their adrenals, just from being in that fight or flight state. So we have to quiet that down. The HRV, how long does it take once we show them how to breathe, Don? 30 seconds?
Yeah.
I mean, you could literally shut the stress hormones off in 30 seconds, 60 seconds. And once you learn how to do it, you could repeat it pretty much at will. So that's something that is really neat. Heart rate variability. And every now and again, we have to use homeopathics. There's a lot of stress going on with the patient. We use specific homeopathic remedies to quiet the thyroid, but we usually combine this core, which is balancing the emotions, getting regular adjustments, and then feeding the thyroid. So that's essentially several books of about that thick condensed down into about 40 minutes. So I wanted to get it all down for you. I also wanted to get it for our people who weren't here tonight. That's why we're recording it. With a lot of people now following us on YouTube, we have a channel. If you just type in Dr. Camelli, you'll be able to see the last four. Yeah, the last 4 of these we actually recorded and put up there for our patients, and we're getting great feedback. I was in Denver over the weekend, and there was about 600 doctors from all over the world coming there to learn, and I sat down and talked to 2 or 3 of them, and they're like, "Hey, I know you. You did that talk on food cravings." But it's pretty cool how, I mean, these are people from different parts of the country that are using this information, and a lot of them are forwarding this information to their patients. So instead of trying to reinvent the wheel, they say, "Hey, just listen to this talk," and then they come back asking a lot better questions. So check us out there on YouTube, and I will stick around for questions. I know a lot of you have to get up and go, but I'll stick around for questions. Our new patients, people who are not previously patients in our office, I know Don has gift certificates. If you want to come in and get the questions and the screening done in our office, get with Don. He will give you a gift certificate. What do you have for him?
I have a $50, normally a $150 value, $50 for the first and second scan.
So it's $100 off?
$100 off.
All right. So anyone who's not a patient, get with Don, and we'll go through all the thyroid screening with you. We'll also test blood flow and nerve flow, something that we do that is included in that. The heart rate variability is included in that. Iodine patch is included. The zinc test is included with that. So it's pretty comprehensive. I appreciate you guys coming out on such a beautiful day, and I will stick around for questions.